Imagine supporting a friend for years, treating him like family, trusting him with your kids, and then finding out he's sleeping with your mom. I'm 40. He's in his 40s. And my mom is almost 60. This is the story that blew up our entire friend group, and I still don't know if I was the victim or part of the problem. I'm shaking just typing this because it still feels surreal. My name's Eric. I'm 40 years old, male. And last week I found out something that's twisted my whole world sideways. The key players here. My mom, Janet, almost 60. She had me very young, so she's always been more like a chaotic older sister than a typical mom. She's charismatic, funny, the cool grandma to my daughter. She's also lived through hell. My dad cheated on her constantly, and their divorce was nuclear. Paul, early 40s, my friend. I put that in quotes now because I don't know what he is anymore. We met because our daughters, both 11, have been inseparable since kindergarten. Same classes, same softball and soccer teams. We ended up in the same bleachers, same carpools, same hotel rooms on travel tournaments. Over time, he became one of the guys I trusted most. He's a firefighter, dependable, solid type. Or so I thought. Paul's wife, Sarah. She struggled for years with alcoholism and mental health issues, paranoid, aggressive, conspiracies, run-ins with the law. I've always pitied Paul, supported him, listened to him vent. If I'm honest, I never liked her, but I didn't hold that against him. That's the setup. Now last week I'm having a casual lunch with my mom. We're a couple drinks in when she suddenly asks, "Do you have any secrets?" I laugh it off, say no, and she says, "I have one, but I don't know if I should tell you." She's done this before, dangled something dramatic just to stir the pot, so I roll my eyes. But she presses. Finally I say, "Fine, tell me." And she drops it. Paul came onto her last year. I just sat there. At first it didn't land. Like, okay, weird. But given everything with his wife, I wasn't shocked. My mom even admitted she had feelings too, but said she shut it down for my sake and for the girls. She framed it like some almost affair that she nobly prevented from going further. I filed it away in my brain, like shoving a creepy letter into a junk drawer. I didn't want to deal with it. But then a few days later, while talking with my best friend, I told her about the convo. She instantly asked, "Wait, did they have sex?" That possibility hadn't even crossed my mind. It hit me in slow motion. My mom lives an hour away. Paul works as a firefighter in that same town. The pieces just started clicking. So I called my mom. Straight up asked, "Oh, did you have sex with Paul?" And she didn't say no. She got defensive. "Why would you even ask me that? That's a weird thing to ask. I'm entitled to privacy. What does it matter?" She said every possible sentence except the only one that mattered. "Of course not." Which means, yeah, they did. I hung up shaking like my body couldn't process the words. Paul, my friend, the guy I've spent a decade hanging out with at barbecues, hotel lobbies, July 4th fireworks, was inside my mom, while still married, while our daughters played in the same damn backyard. The betrayal feels radioactive. I saw him at school pick up the next day and literally ducked behind a wall so I wouldn't have to face him. Our girls begged for a play date, and I choked out some excuse because I couldn't even picture sitting next to him pretending everything was normal. And here's the kicker. My mom knows the pain of being cheated on. She's told me stories about crying in the bathroom while my dad was out screwing other women. She weaponized that pain against me my whole childhood, And now she's the one helping another man betray his wife. I don't even know where to put this rage. I feel sick, betrayed, embarrassed, and, God help me, ashamed. And the worst part? I can't escape him. We coach the same sports team. We travel together all summer. He rides his bike past my house, picks up my daughter for ice cream runs. He's woven into my life. I keep asking myself, is this any of my business? Technically, no. They're adults. But does it bother me? More than anything ever has. And now, I don't know what the hell to do. The thing about Paul is, he wasn't just some casual dad friend. Over the last decade, he became part of my inner circle. I let him in, trusted him, defended him when other people rolled their eyes at his wife's chaos. I remember the first time our daughters clicked. They were 5, in the same kindergarten class, both obsessed with the same sparkly soccer ball. They begged us for play dates, and soon enough we were spending weekends together. Practice, pizza nights, backyard campouts. That's how Paul and I got close. He had this way of talking about his life that made you feel like you had to sympathize. His wife Sarah was always the villain in his stories, drunk at school events, yelling about lizard people in grocery store aisles, calling the cops on him during arguments. And yeah, I believed him. Honestly, it wasn't hard. I saw her meltdowns firsthand. Once she stormed into a softball game, red-faced and slurring, screaming at the umpire until parents dragged her away. It was humiliating. So I stepped up for him, invited him to BBQs, made sure his kids had rices to games, gave him a place to vent when things were bad at home. I thought of him as this devoted dad trapped in a nightmare marriage. I liked being the one he leaned on. It made me feel like I was doing the right thing. Now, looking back, I wonder if I was just his cover story. There were always small things I brushed off, like the way he was always overly comfortable with my family. He'd joke with my mom, Janet, like they were old pals, even though they barely knew each other at first. She's young at heart, kind of flirty in her own way, and I guess I told myself that's just how she is. He'd tease her about her hair, call her the hottest grandma on the field. I'd roll my eyes but laugh it off. Or the times he'd linger at my house even after the kids were done playing. He'd crack open a beer, hang in my kitchen, chat with my mom if she was visiting. Once, I came back from the bathroom and found the two of them on the patio. Her laughing too hard at some story, his hand resting a little too casually on her chair. My stomach twisted for a second, but I shook it off. I mean, come on, who even thinks like that? Then there was the day last summer when my car broke down. My mom was in town, so she drove me to work. Later she mentioned totally casually, "Oh, I ran into Paul at the firehouse when I stopped for gas." Said it like she'd bumped into the cashier at the grocery store. But I remember thinking, why even bring it up? Why did it matter? It's like my brain had little alarm bells going off, but I muted them, because the alternative, that my friend and my mom could cross that line, was just too insane to consider. But now that I know, it all feels obvious. Too obvious. I keep replaying every memory, every sidelong glance, every laugh that lingered a beat too long. Did I really not see it? Or did I just not want to? And the worst part is, our lives are so entangled, there's no clean escape. Our daughter's softball team has tournaments almost every weekend this summer. Travel, hotels, carpooling. I coach, he's always helping out. Parents expect us to be the dad duo that keeps things organized. Except now, every time I look at him, I see his hands on my mom. And every time I look at her, I see the smirk she gave me when she said, "I'm entitled to privacy." It's like I'm stuck in some sick joke where everyone else is laughing and I'm just realizing the punchline. And this is only the beginning, because the more I pull at this thread, the uglier it gets. Hey guys, real quick before we keep going, don't forget to sub and drop a like if you're enjoying the story. And tell me what you think in the comments. I'll feature the best one in the next video. The first time the cracks showed in public was at one of the girls' softball games. It was a Saturday, hot as hell, the kind of day where the metal bleachers sear the back of your thighs. Parents were crammed together under umbrellas, shouting encouragement, eating sunflower seeds. Normally I'm loud, cheering, joking with Paul, hyping up the kids. That day I couldn't even look at him. He strolled up in his usual way, baseball cap backwards, cooler slung over his shoulder, grinning like everything in life was fine. I swear, just the sight of him made my skin crawl. He clapped me on the back like always, and I had to fight the urge to shrug him off. "Big game today, huh?" he said, grinning. "Yeah," I muttered, eyes locked on the field. He laughed like I'd cracked a joke, not realizing I could barely breathe sitting next to him. It was surreal. This man who had been in my kitchen, who'd carpooled my daughter to ice cream, who I'd trusted for years, now felt like a stranger I wanted to punch in the face. Janet wasn't even there that day, but it didn't matter. Every word out of Paul's mouth sounded different to me. Every gesture felt tainted. When he yelled, "That's my girl!" After his daughter hit a double, I wanted to scream back, "Yeah, and you've been all over my mom too, right?" At one point, one of the other dads joked, "Man, Eric, you and Paul should just coach full time. You're like a married couple the way you run this team." Everyone laughed. Except me. My jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth might crack. The idea of being linked to him, even as a joke, made me want to vomit. I mumbled something about needing more water and walked off. That's when it really hit me. I couldn't keep this bottled up. Not around him, not around the kids. Not when we were spending almost every weekend in each other's orbit. The tipping point came later that afternoon. Our girls were sitting on the grass, sweaty and laughing, begging us to set up a play date. Paul looked at me with that easy grin like nothing had changed and said, "Yeah, let's do it. Maybe tomorrow at your place?" And something in me snapped. I didn't explode. I didn't yell. But I looked him dead in the eyes and said, "Not happening." His smile faltered. "What do you mean?" "The girls." I said no. I cut him off, sharper than I meant to. For a second he just stared at me. Confused. Maybe even nervous. Then he covered it with a laugh and shrugged. But the tension was there. The other parents noticed. A couple moms glanced over, eyebrows raised. My daughter tugged my arm, whispering, "Dad, why not?" And I couldn't even answer. I just patted her head and told her we'd figure something else out. On the drive home, I gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. I knew this wasn't sustainable. The lies, the forced small talk, the pretending, it was all going to crack wide open. And deep down, I think part of me wanted it too. Because the anger I'd been swallowing was starting to boil over, and sooner or later Paul and my mom were going to feel every ounce of it. It didn't take long for things to boil over. The next weekend was an away tournament. Those are usually exhausting but fun. Long drives, hotel pools, parents hanging out in the lobby after the kids crash. But for me, it was torture. The thought of being stuck around Paul for 2 straight days made my stomach churn. We all checked into the same hotel Friday night. The girls were buzzing with excitement, running up and down the halls in their team shirts. Parents were lugging coolers into rooms, already making plans for late-night beers. Normally I'd be right in the mix. This time I kept to myself. But Paul wouldn't let it go. He knocked on my door after dinner, casual as always. "Hey man, you coming down to hang out?" I lied. Said I was tired. He grinned. "Come on, don't be lame," and tried to push his way into the room like he owned the place. My daughter was inside watching a movie, and the sight of him stepping over the threshold made me see red. I planted my hand on the door and said, "Not tonight, Paul." He froze, looked at me. That easygoing mask slipped just a little. "Okay," he said slowly, backing up. "You good?" "Yeah," I lied again. Slammed the door. The next morning it all blew up. The girls had an early game, so all the parents were bleary-eyed sipping bad coffee in the sidelines. My mom, Janet, had decided to come watch. She showed up with her usual energy, hugging my daughter, chatting with parents like she'd been part of the group forever. And then she saw Paul. I swear her whole face lit up. Not the polite smile she gives neighbors. Not the grandmotherly glow she saves for the kids. This was different. A spark. And Paul? He gave her the same look back. It was quick. Barely a second, but I saw it. The way his eyes lingered on her, the way she tilted her head just slightly like she was remembering something in private. That was it. That was my breaking point. I stood up from the bleachers so fast I spilled my coffee. Parents looked over, startled. My mom started to say something, probably to calm me down, but I couldn't even hear her. My blood was roaring in my ears. I walked straight up to Paul, right there in front of everyone, and hissed, "You think I don't know?" He blinked. "What are you talking about?" "You and my mom," I snapped. "Don't play dumb." Gasps. A couple parents pulled their kids closer. My mom's face went pale, then red. "Eric," she hissed, "not here." But it was too late. The words were out. Paul's jaw tightened. He tried to put on that calm firefighter voice, but his eyes gave him away. "This isn't the place," he muttered. "Oh, I think it is," I shot back. "You've been in my house, at my table, around my daughter, while sneaking around with my mother? You think that's friendship?" Silence. Just the sound of kids on the field and parents staring. My mom finally jumped in, grabbing my arm. "Eric, please, stop!" I yanked away. "No, you stop. You stop pretending this is nothing. You stop acting like you didn't blow up everything for a cheap thrill." She looked like she'd been slapped. Paul opened his mouth, but no words came. He just stood there, jaw clenched, fists flexing, like he didn't know if he should defend himself or back down. I left before I did something I'd regret. Stormed off to the parking lot, my daughter jogging behind me, confused and scared. Parents whispered. My mom didn't follow. Paul didn't either. I sat in the car shaking, trying to breathe, my daughter asking over and over, "Dad, what happened?" And all I could think was, this is just the beginning. Because now, it wasn't just my secret. Everyone had seen the crack. And soon, the whole damn thing was going to explode. Update. Okay, wow. I didn't expect so many people to read my post or care, but here we are. I've spent the last few days reeling from the tournament disaster. And honestly, I don't know if I made things better or worse. Probably worse. But at least the truth isn't just rotting inside me anymore. Let me back up. After I blew up at Paul and my mom in front of half the softball parents, I left. I couldn't stay another second. My daughter cried the whole ride home, not because she understood everything, but because she saw me lose it in a way I never had before. That broke me more than anything. When I got home, I had missed calls from my mom, voicemails that were basically variations of, "We need to talk privately, you embarrassed me," and my personal favorite, "This isn't your business." Paul texted me once, You crossed a line, man. We need to handle this like adults. I didn't reply. And then came the ripple effect. By Monday, it was clear the story was already circulating. Parents' talk. People had seen enough to piece together the gist. One mom cornered me in the school parking lot, whispering, "Is it true? Your mom and Paul?" I didn't answer, just got in my car. Her face told me she already knew. My daughter begged for a playdate with Paul's daughter, and I had to say no. She burst into tears. She doesn't understand why the man who used to pick her up for ice cream is suddenly radioactive. And the kicker, Janet, my mom, showed up at my house on Wednesday. No warning, just knocked on the door like she hadn't detonated my life. I opened it, and there she was. Hair perfect, smile plastered on, holding a damn casserole dish. Like we were going to play house and forget everything. "Eric," she said in that coaxing tone she uses when she wants me to stop being mad, "we need to sit down and talk." I didn't even let her in. "What's left to say?" She sighed, exasperated, like I was the unreasonable one. "You've made this a bigger deal than it is. Paul and I cut her off. Don't say his name in my house." Her eyes narrowed, sharp now. "You're acting like a child. I'm allowed to live my life." "You're allowed," I snapped. "But don't pretend it doesn't affect me. Don't act like screwing my friend, while his kids and wife are in the next room, doesn't poison everything." She didn't like that. The smile cracked. She started crying, real dramatic, mascara streaking. "I thought you would understand," she wailed. "After everything your father did to me, I thought you'd see how much I needed this. How much I deserved to feel wanted again." And that's when it clicked. She was rewriting the story, making herself the victim even in this. I told her to leave. She slammed the casserole dish in the porch so hard it cracked, then stormed off shouting, "You'll regret this, Eric!" So yeah, things are a mess. Paul and I haven't spoken since. My mom is alternating between begging me to just move on and raging about me ruining her happiness. And the sports season still going, still forcing us into the same spaces, pretending nothing's wrong while everyone whispers. But here's the thing. I'm done being passive. For years I swallowed red flags, let people walk over me. Not anymore. If Paul and Janet think they can play house while dragging me through hell, they've got another thing coming. Because I'm not just going to sit here and take it. I'm going to make sure everyone sees them for who they really are. I stopped pretending I wanted the slow, quiet revenge, simmering passive aggression and silent cold shoulders. That wasn't enough. They'd weaponized intimacy the way cheaters always do. Private pleasures in public places, the little betrayals folded into family life until they felt normal. So I decided to pull the blanket off the whole bed and let everyone else stare at what had been hiding under it. First, I gathered proof the only way someone like me could, through the cluttered traces people leave when they think no one's looking. Old Facebook posts my ma had liked and regretfully unliked, pictures where she and Paul were in the same place on the same night, a tagged Instagram post of a fundraiser Paul volunteered at that conveniently matched the dates Mom swore she was alone at her sister's. Funny how the internet remembers the parts people try to forget. I screenshot, time-stamped, printed. I didn't hack phones. I didn't break into anything. I just followed footprints they'd left with their sloppy human feet. I also made copies of the receipts. The hotel charges for a late-night mini-bar at the inn where both of them had attended the same charity dinner. The receipt had been in my mom's purse because she dropped it when she left her casserole on my porch that day. I'd kept it. Stupid, naive. The exact thing that had made me a good son once. Now it was an arrow I could use. My plan wasn't violent. It was public humiliation. A clean, undeniable reveal so there would be no rewrites. I printed the pics and receipts, put them in clear sleeves, and built a slideshow of normal community photos. Team wins, tailgates, kids at the pool. Then, buried between the kids' smiling faces, I slipped the photos of Paul and Janet together. The same hotel hallway. The same bench outside the firehouse. The same lopsided grin my mom gives when she's flirting. I sent anonymous copies of the printed packet to 3 people who mattered. The team's organizer, a ma who'd been quietly protective of Sarah, and, hardest of all, Sarah herself, with my name nowhere on the envelope. I told myself, do it clean, do it once. No threats, no stalking, just truth in daylight. The banquet night was worse and better than I'd imagined. The gym smelled like undercooked pizza and desperation. Parents laughed too loud and clinked paper plates. I volunteered to set up the AV because it let me control when the slide deck played. My hands shook while I clicked through the first half. Smiling kids, trophies, a montage of community. People cheered. Then the power slid. The photos of Paul and Janet together came up. Whispers, phones, heads turned. I felt my daughter's hand define my knee like an anchor. Paul's face folded like bad paper. Janet's mouth opened small. Then she hit my side of the gym with a howl that was half anger, half pleading. She lunged toward the AV table, grabbed the laptop cords. In the scramble, she slapped at the projector, sending it crashing into the folding chairs. Plastic screamed. A light bulb burst. Chairs toppled. A parent shouted. Paul pushed through the crowd toward me, chest heaving, eyes raw. He shoved me once, hard enough to choke the air out of my lungs. I shoved back. It wasn't dignified. It wasn't heroic. It was a raw animal thing. Someone grabbed Paul. Someone else shoved my mama down into a stack of chairs. A centerpiece smashed. The night leaked into a chaotic mess of crying kids, a mother screaming about, "How could you?" A wife, Sarah, arriving at full throttle because the packet I'd sent her worked faster than I expected. She barreled in, eyes glassy, adrenaline making her loud. She didn't just cry, she screamed accusations, then picked up a folding chair and hurled it through the gym window. Glass rained over the parking lot. Sirens arrived minutes later. People screamed more now for the cops than for the kids. And the community that used to be a comfortable net turned to shards. I watched it all. My hands cut and bleeding from where someone had hooked me in the scuffle, realizing I had blown our world to pieces. The trade-off was immediate. The truth I'd exposed was out, undeniable. The consequence was immediate too. A police report, a hospital trip for a parent who banged her head on the bleachers, kids pulled from practices, an invisible line drawn through our friend group like a scar. I hadn't planned for the fallout to be this ugly. I'd hoped my reveal would be surgical, clean justice. Instead, it detonated. Paul's temper exploded. Janet's melodrama turned to physical rage, and Sarah's instability turned violent. The town would pick sides, gossip would calcify into social exile for some, and sympathy would become a messy currency. As the uniforms took statements and someone tried to quiet the crying, my daughter clung to me and whispered, "Dad, are you okay?" I wanted to say yes. My voice didn't work. All I felt was the taste of concrete reality. I had forced truth into the light, and it was burning everything it touched. Update 2. First, thank you. The flood of messages, DMs, and comments has been this weird lifeline and a mirror at once. Some folks called me an asshole for dragging this into the open. Others sent screenshots, legal advice, and even offers to stand with me at school meetings. A few people, one comment in particular, Made me laugh so hard I cried, "Bro, if you wanted to end friendships, congrats, you peaked." Funny. Also true. Here's what's happened since the gym turned into a war zone. I'll be blunt so nothing gets mixed up. The police took statements that night. There's an incident report for public disturbance, vandalism, the smashed window and folding chair through glass. And at least 2 people gave statements about being assaulted during the scuffle. Sarah, the wife, was the one who threw the chair through the window. She's now got a trespass vandalism entry on the police log from that night, and word is she was taken away for evaluation because she was screaming and incoherent when officers arrived. I don't know the legal technicalities, only that uniforms and flashing lights don't make anything neat. Paul was slapped with a complaint, and there's talk at the firehouse. I'm told, through the grapevine, nothing official on paper I can show you, that he's been placed on administrative leave while the department looks into conduct unbecoming, both for his involvement with the community incident and for the allegations themselves. That made me feel vindicated for about 5 minutes before I remembered this is a family's life I'm ripping apart. Janet, she's a drama machine turned martyr. She's been alternating between apologizing to people who will listen and posting passive-aggressive Facebook updates about being judged for choosing happiness. A couple of our mutual friends reached out to say they tried to defend her and ended up put on the spot. One parent texted, "I want to support my friend, but watch what my kids are exposed to." Translation: some people are quietly distancing themselves from her and Paul. And then there's Sarah's reaction. I sent her the packet, anonymous envelope, because I couldn't bring myself to look her in the face. That was both cowardly and necessary. Her first DM to me, angry, full of shaking caps, said, "You broke my family." That message has been screenshotted and sent back to me by 3 people with the caption, "She's already gaslighting." Classic. She also messaged other moms, begging for support, claiming she didn't know and that she felt betrayed. Some believed her, some didn't. The kids are wrecked. Coaches pulled the team from practice for 2 days after the district asked for a statement. Our daughters keep asking questions that I don't have words for. Paul's kids are confused and scared. Sarah's kids are traumatized. All of them look at me differently, some with blame, some with curiosity. I've gotten DMs telling me to lawyer up, DMs telling me I ruined lives, and a few that say, "Never apologize." A commenter compared me to a surgeon cutting out gangrene. Another called me a pyromaniac. Both fit, in different ways. I don't know if I did the right thing. I know I couldn't live in that quiet betrayal anymore. I also know this. The truth is out, and the town is split in ways that won't stitch back up clean. There are whispers about restraining orders, about custody to being relitigated, about who will lose what. People ask what I want next. Honestly, I want something that hurts them where it matters without turning me into the monster they'll all gossip about. I want to be clever, not cruel. I want poetic justice. Something that exposes hypocrisy and fakesmanship without hurting innocent kids more than they already are. And some of you suggested public record searches. Some said leak to HR at the firehouse with the right screenshots. Others told me to get a lawyer before anything else. I've taken notes. I'm not impulsive anymore, not just blind rage. This next move will be surgical. No more explosions, just consequences that fit the crime. I'll tell you what I do next. But right now, I need to breathe and get my kid back to normal. Whatever that looks like now. When I pictured the ending, it wasn't a courtroom drama or some movie-style cliffhanger. I imagined a quieter, cleaner kind of victory. One that made them feel the loss of what they stole without turning me into the cliche they'd paint me, as if I'd gone full vigilante. I wanted poetic justice, not petty cruelty. I wanted my daughter to be safe, our team to be okay, and for the people who'd stood by us to know the whole truth. First thing I did was breathe. It sounds stupid, but after the gym night, I had to force myself not to sprint into more destruction. I called the district's youth sports board and the team organizer. I asked for an emergency meeting and showed up with everything I gathered. The screenshots, the receipts, the timeline stamped with dates. I didn't yell. I laid it out like evidence. Simple, factual, brutal, because facts don't lie. They asked for copies. They said they'd suspend Paul from official team duties pending an investigation and wanted the incident report from the police. I'd expected resistance, but once other parents who'd seen the packets started filling the room, it went from rumor to record. Meanwhile, I called the firehouse's internal affairs line. It felt like a betrayal to use the same bureaucracy that once saved our house at the wildfires, but accountability doesn't care about feelings. I sent an email with PDFs attached, time-stamped photos, receipts showing the same hotel nights, witness statements from 3 parents who'd seen them together. That same week, Paul was put on administrative leave. I didn't gloat. I faxed the department only the truth. It was enough. Then I tackled the social thing because small towns are a virus. Rumors spread, reputations calcify, and the innocent get hurt in the crossfire. I organized a parents-only meeting and invited everyone framed as team stability. When they came, I put the slideshow up, the same one that had detonated the gym, only this time with captions and a timeline. It ran in a steady, unemotional loop. Dates, locations, receipts, comments. No melodrama. People saw it. Adults who'd been on the fence sat up straight. Moms who'd whispered sympathy for my mom had to reconcile what they'd known with evidence. Some cried. A few left the gym without a word. Sweet revenge isn't fireworks, it's stripping the cloak. Paul's leave turned into a suspension at the firehouse and a disciplined investigation. He lost the casual coaching gigs and the easy credibility he'd used like armor. People who'd once laughed off their quarrels with Saras now understood how messy the whole thing had been. And many quietly stepped away from Janet. She couldn't primarily trade on her fun grandma aura anymore. Folks saw the same woman texting defensive rants to the neighbors and then smiling at the bake sale. Sarah. That one's ugly and complicated. Because she's unstable, I didn't try to expose her like a villain. She already exploded in public. I reached out to a school counselor privately and arranged for the girls to have trauma-informed support during practices. Fuck optics. What mattered was the kids. I also made sure she got the packet. Anonymously at first. And then publicly signaled that professional help would be supported, not shamed. That felt like a truer victory than watching someone fall. In the aftermath, the friend group splintered. Some people never spoke to me again. Others hugged me and cried. My daughter at first wanted the old normal back, the ice cream runs, the sleepovers, but she also wanted honesty. We rebuilt new traditions. Our own weekend tournaments, sleepovers with kids whose parents showed up sober and steady. I stopped pretending the town would forget. A scar had formed, but scars heal into something tougher. The last small sweet thing I did. On a blistering July morning, I took my daughter to the neighborhood park, and she pointed at a group of kids playing. She smiled that open, ridiculous smile she gets when she's about to forgive you for some forgotten crime. "Dad," she said, "can we invite Maya's mom and make s'mores?" Maya being the quiet kid whose mom had stood beside me after the gym fight. I said yes. And for the first time since the reveal, I felt like I could breathe without flinching every time someone pedaled a bike past my house. People talk about revenge like it's a moment. For me, it was a sequence: truth, consequences, and then protection. I didn't get to watch everyone burn, and I didn't want to. I got to watch accountability do its job. I got my daughter back from the sting of betrayal, and we stitched a new life that doesn't include Paul's easy laughter or my mom's performative apologies. The town reorganized around the truth, messy as that process was, and I, exhausted, bruised, human, learned I can be ruthless and kind in the same breath. Would I do anything differently? Maybe I'd have spared certain public scenes. Maybe I'd have handled my mom sooner. But when my daughter curled into my side that night and said, "Thank you for telling the truth, Dad," I knew that in the anatomy of revenge, the sweetest part was not the fall of others. It was the quiet reclaiming of our life. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and like it. You can also watch more shocking stories in the playlist.